Can the Chicago Bears truly be contenders this year? After watching the first two games, they don't look that great. Caleb Williams is struggling, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to make the playoffs. Let's talk about it right now. All right, let's get into the offseason. With the Bears, one of their first acquires was DeAndre Swift. Now, DeAndre Swift is a really good running back. He actually had his career high last year playing 16 games and also getting 1,000 yards. He also was just below the top 10 running backs in the NFL with more than 4.5 yards per carry. So he had a really good season last year. Makes sense why the Bears would go out and try and pick him up to help Caleb Williams on the offense. Now, this is something that we'll have to watch. So far in the games, it's decent, but we're going to have to see how well that plays out because there can always be injuries, there can always be issues. So we really just have to wait and see if DeAndre Swift can be a real factor with the Bears offense. The second addition that the Bears made during the offseason was picking up Keenan Allen. Now, Keenan Allen, don't get me wrong, is a really good wide receiver, probably one of the best right now in the NFL. The issue is when you bring up Keenan Allen, at least when I'm talking to people about it, and when his name is brought up, he just always has injuries. No matter what season is or what he's doing, he's got an injury. And we've seen that time and time again. So I really think this move from the Bears was actually really bad because you're just going to expect to pay a lot for a wide receiver that, yes, he is good, but he can barely stay healthy during the season. And that will really hurt your quarterback, especially in Caleb Williams' case, where he's a rookie. He really needs that, and you could have invested into somebody else. Now, with Keenan Allen, we've seen this time and time again, like I said before. But guess what? He's already got injuries again. He hasn't played really in the first two games this season, and it's just hurting the Bears right now. I just don't understand why they would pick this up, and I think it hurts them in the long run. And of course, there's Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze. These guys, I thought during the draft, were great pickups for the Bears. It was almost certain that the Bears were going to pick up Caleb Williams, and then depending on how the draft went, they would pick up a wide receiver. Now, these two are fantastic. We've seen them play Roma Dunze at Washington and Caleb Williams at USC. Now, both of them had stout statistics. They had great careers in the college football era that they had. And really, they could be great pieces for the Bears, but we're just going to have to wait and see. You never know. We've seen so many busts, especially with the Bears with quarterback, that you never know. Caleb Williams, yes, he has great talent. He has amazing abilities, but he didn't really prove anything in college football. He never won a national championship. He never really was a champion when it came to game time. Yes, he won the Heisman, and he had a lot of statistics that were really high, but he really didn't prove anything. So I think that is something we're going to have to watch. And so far in these past two games, he hasn't looked too great. And since we're on the topic of Caleb Williams, let's talk about his college career. Now, there's been a lot of questions with his character, how he handles himself. I've personally seen him, and my wife is a huge Utah University football fan. So we've gone to plenty of those games. We've gone to the Pac-12 championship. Both times they were in it. One was against USC, and it was a close game. It was going back and forth. But it just seems like Utah's defense just always had a grasp on what they had to do to stop Caleb Williams, to slow him down and pick him off. And they just had the secret sauce, I guess, because he was never able to beat Utah. Even though they were the main favorites in the Pac-12 championship game, they still lost. And he got injured towards the end, and I think I personally disagree with that they should have kept playing him in that game. He just didn't look like himself, and he was just making mistakes and just forcing things, and I think that plays a part into just his big ego. He just did not want to let someone else come in. He wanted to finish, which I understand with players. Like, you don't want to go out, you're in a big game, you want to contribute. But I think it hurt the team in the long run. And he's done so many things like painting his nails, saying F Utah, and just plenty of other things like that. And I just think his maturity is just really low. He really needs to grow up. And we've seen this even in the NFL. If you watch the second game against the Texans, CJ Stroud came up to him at the end of the game and tried to give him a good talk about, hey, it's okay, like, you're going to be a good player. But he did not, at least in the video, he did not seem like he really wanted to hear that from CJ Stroud. Like, yes, all competitors will be upset that they lost, but you need to handle it in a good manner. And it just seems like he's just a poor sport. Like, it makes it easy to not like Caleb Williams just because he just doesn't carry himself very well. He tries to act like, oh, like, all tough guy, and nothing hurts him. And I've seen him talk about how he never gets nervous in games. The only game that he was ever nervous in was his very first high school game when he started. There's so many things I could bring up, and he just needs to grow up. He needs to accept that he's not going to be the best in the NFL right away, and he's going to have to learn. The game is a lot faster than college football. He can't just run around and make crazy plays. That's why it's so difficult in the NFL, why Patrick Mahomes is really good, because he can make things happen. And Caleb Williams right now, it just looked like he was running all over the place and just really struggling to really get anything going. And I'm actually a little surprised that he didn't have any fumbles. If you watched him scrambling, the ball was like way out there, just holding it with his hand. And it's going to be very easy for defenses to knock that out of his hand. I think we're going to see that a lot more this season, but we're just going to have to wait and see. All right, like I talked about before with Caleb Williams, is he hasn't really looked that great so far in the NFL. His past 2 games have been pretty sad. We were expecting a lot more from him, and I don't know. I don't know if it's just because he's a rookie and trying to get used to just how the pace is in the NFL. Obviously, it's a lot faster, like we talked about earlier, but he really hasn't had great stats. So I'm going to tag in this video his stats for the past 2 games, and we're going to review it right now. All right, here are the statistics for Caleb Williams in the first 2 games. And as you can see, total yards, he has 267, which is 30th in the NFL, which is basically the bottom. Not great. He has no touchdowns. He's tied for 31st, which is terrible as well. And then he's also got 2 interceptions, and he's tied for 27th place in the NFL for starting quarterbacks. And then his quarterback rating is a 24.2, which is it's just terrible. Like, this guy is struggling a lot right now, and it just doesn't look good. And the Houston game, he had 2 interceptions. They weren't just like tipped, and it was a lucky catch by the defense. They were full on. He just threw it into coverage and just panicked. And the one he threw into triple coverage, it was really bad. So Caleb Williams is definitely struggling right now. He's going to have to pick it up soon. Hopefully they can fix the O-line and help him out a little bit there, but it's not looking great for him. All right, so as you guys can see, going over all those statistics for the past 2 games and Caleb Williams' NFL stats so far, it's not looking great. Now, I will give him the benefit of the doubt. The offensive line is not good. I think the Bears should have invested a lot more time and effort in building this offensive line because they're so focused on getting all these weapons and around Caleb Williams. But if you don't have a good line, it's not going to go anywhere. And we've seen that time and time again. I don't understand why NFL teams think they can just get these weapons and then everything's fine and dandy. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, every team we've seen that is good has a good offensive line. I think that should be the core for every team to focus on is you got to get the offensive line. I'm a huge Patriots fan, and our offensive line is not good. Drake May, if he was in, even if he's really good, is going to struggle. So I will give Caleb Williams the benefit of the doubt there that his line is not good. You can tell he's trying to make plays, but he just doesn't have the time. So credit to him trying his best with that, and it'll be interesting to see what the Bears do improving the offensive line. But we're just going to have to wait and see. It's going to probably be a year or two until we see a good line, if they even try and do something like that. I would hope. But we're just going to have to wait and see. If you guys have liked this content so far, I would love it if you could subscribe to the channel. We want to build something where people can just come together, talk about football, forget about all the things going on in the world, and just being football fans. So please subscribe, like this video, and comment down below what you think the Bears should do with Caleb Williams. And is Caleb Williams really going to be the starter for the Bears for a long time? Because so far he hasn't looked great. So let me know what you think down below. What do you ultimately think? Is Caleb Williams a bust? Or is he going to be a competitor and be a decent quarterback later on in the future? So let me know. All right, guys, that's everything. If you like this content, check out this video I just tagged onto the screen right here. It's all about, is Patrick Mahomes already the GOAT of football? Did he already surpass Tom Brady? Check it out and let me know what you think about that topic.